A single father helped a woman in distress on the road, unaware that she was the doctor who would save his daughter. Fate changed their lives forever. A story that will touch your heart. Subscribe, leave a like, and comment where you are watching from. The March sun mercilessly beat down on the cracked asphalt of Main Street when Mark Johnson stopped his faded red Honda motorcycle upon seeing a silver Camry parked on the shoulder. It was just after 8 in the morning on a Tuesday, and the heavy flow of workers heading downtown meant that few drivers paid attention to the broken-down car. But Mark was not like the others. At 35, with calloused hands from working with metal and oil since he was 15, he had learned from his father that good people help good people, no matter who they are. The stubble of 3 days and the grease-stained blue T-shirt contrasted with the elegance of the woman beside the vehicle, clearly in trouble. "Good morning. Do you need help?" Mark asked, removing his helmet to reveal tousled brown hair blown by the wind. His brown eyes expressed genuine concern. The woman turned, and for a moment, Mark was speechless. She appeared to be around 40, with brown hair neatly tied in an elegant bun, wearing a pristine beige blazer over a white blouse. Even with the tension etched on her face, her upright posture and the way she held her leather handbag revealed someone accustomed to sophisticated environments. Yes, the car just died," she replied, her voice carrying a refined accent. "It was running perfectly, and then suddenly it started making a strange noise and stopped." Mark examined the 2018 Camry, a model he knew well from the garage where he worked. "Did you hear if the noise was coming from the engine or underneath the car?" "Honestly, I don't understand anything about cars," she admitted, nervously running her hand over her face. "I have a very important meeting in 40 minutes at the General Hospital, and I already called my insurance, but they said it would take at least an hour." "Let me take a look. Sometimes it's a simple fix," Mark offered, already moving to the front of the vehicle. "May I?" She hesitated for a moment, clearly surprised by the kindness of a stranger, but eventually nodded in agreement. "Sure, thank you. I'm Helena Smith." "Mark Johnson. You can call me Mark," he said, opening the hood with precise movements. The strong smell of burnt oil immediately filled his nostrils. "Ah, here's the problem. The alternator belt broke. It probably overheated." Helena stepped closer, maintaining a respectful distance. "Is it serious? I mean, expensive?" "The part doesn't cost even $50, but without it, the car won't start," Mark explained, closing the hood and wiping his hands on a rag he pulled from his worn jeans. "The problem is that the nearest garage that will have this belt is about 3 miles from here." Helena's face fell with concern. She glanced at her watch, a Rolex that Mark estimated was worth more than his 2-month salary, and sighed deeply. "Listen, I can take you to the hospital," Mark impulsively offered. "It's not far from here, about 20 minutes by bike. Then if you want, I can come back, buy the part, and fix the car. I'll park it at the garage downtown and give you the keys wherever it's convenient." Helena stared at him in astonishment. "You would do that? But you don't even know me." "My mother always said that when you help. God sends someone to help you too," Mark replied with a simple smile. "Besides, you're in an emergency, right?" For a moment, Helena was silent, observing the man she had just met. There was something in the sincerity of his eyes that calmed her. In 15 years working in private hospitals, she had lost count of how many times she had witnessed gestures of pure greed disguised as help. But there, on that dusty road in the outskirts, a complete stranger was offering assistance without asking for anything in return. "I have never ridden a motorcycle," she confessed, blushing slightly. "Relax. I've been driving for over 20 years and have never had an accident. I have an extra helmet in the trunk," Mark said, pointing to the bike. "Just hold on tight and trust me." Helena took a deep breath. All right, but afterward I insist on paying for the repair and for your time. We'll talk about that later, Mark replied, already grabbing the spare helmet. Now let's go. Traffic is getting heavy. As he adjusted the helmet on Helena's head, Mark couldn't imagine that this elegant woman was one of the most respected pediatric cardiologists in the city, a daughter of a traditional family in the medical field. Helena, in turn, had no idea that she was about to meet a man whose 8-year-old daughter, Emily, had been facing a mysterious heart condition for months that the health clinic doctors couldn't diagnose. "Hold on to my waist and lean with me in the curves," Mark instructed, starting the motorcycle. The Honda's engine responded with a familiar and reliable roar. As they rode along the East Highway toward downtown, Helena was surprised by Mark's skill in traffic. He drove confidently, respecting speed limits and signaling every lane change. The wind whipped against her face through the slightly open visor of the helmet, and for the first time in months she allowed herself to relax, even if just for a few minutes. "Is everything all right back there?" Mark shouted over the noise of the wind. "Yes," she replied, surprised to realize that she actually felt good, better than she had in weeks. When they arrived at the General Hospital, Helena dismounted the motorcycle with slightly shaky legs, but with a sense of relief. With a smile on her face that Mark couldn't see because of the helmet, Emily said, "Doctor, we arrived just in time." Mark checked his simple wristwatch. "Actually, I'm a doctor," Emily gently corrected, taking off her helmet and fixing her hair. "Emily Johnson, pediatric cardiologist." Mark's eyes widened. "Sorry, doctor, I didn't know that." "No need to apologize, Mark. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You literally saved my first day of work here," she said, extending her hand. "How can I reach you to settle the repair?" "The garage is at 847 Maple Street, Joe's garage. Everyone knows it around here," Mark replied, carefully shaking her delicate hand. "But I only accept payment for the part. The rest was a neighborly favor." Emily smiled, genuinely touched. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely, doctor." She hesitated for a moment, then took a business card from her bag. "This is my card. If you or your family ever need anything. Well, I work with children if someday." Mark tucked the card into his shirt pocket without looking. "Thank you, Dr. Emily. Now you should go. You're already late." As the motorcycle pulled away, Emily stood on the sidewalk of the hospital, watching Mark disappear into traffic. There was something about that encounter that stirred her in a way she couldn't explain. Perhaps it was the genuine simplicity or the kindness without ulterior motives, but she knew that morning had changed something inside her. On the other side of town, Mark was heading home, thinking about the elegant doctor he had helped. Upon arriving at the small house behind Joe's garage, he found Emily having her morning coffee before heading to school. "Dad, why are you late?" the 8-year-old girl asked, her brown eyes, just like her father's, shining with curiosity. "I helped a doctor on the road, princess," Mark replied, kissing the top of his daughter's head. "A doctor who takes care of children." Emily smiled, unaware that this simple information would change her life forever. Emily Johnson entered the General Hospital still smelling of gasoline and oil from her clothes. The contrast between the simplicity of the motorcycle ride and the sterile environment of the hospital made her reflect on how she had gotten there. 3 months earlier, her life had crumbled when she discovered that her husband, also a doctor, had been having an affair for 2 years with a nurse from the private clinic where they both worked. "Dr. Emily, I'm glad you made it." Dr. Robert Smith, the director of the pediatric cardiology department, welcomed her in the main hallway. He was a 60-year-old man with grey hair and a perpetually serious expression. "I was worried about the traffic." "Just a little hiccup on the way, but I'm here now," Emily replied, adjusting her blazer and trying to regain her professional composure. "Excellent. We have a team meeting in 15 minutes to officially introduce you. After that, I'll show you your office and the week's schedule," Dr. Robert explained as they walked through the hallways that smelled of disinfectant and had light. Green walls, an attempt to soften the coldness of the hospital. As Emily adapted to her new routine, on the other side of town, Mark was fixing a 1978 Beetle at Joe's garage. The environment was a complete contrast to the hospital. Oil-stained cement floors, tools scattered across rustic wooden workbenches, and the constant sound of engines mixed with the lively chatter of mechanics. "Mark, you seem different today," observed Joe Santos, the garage owner. A 65-year-old man with a prominent belly and hands that seemed to have been born holding wrenches. "Did something happen?" "I helped a doctor on the road this morning." "A pediatrician," Mark replied, focused on changing the engine oil. "A classy, educated woman. She even gave me a business card." "A doctor? And you didn't take the chance to ask about Emily?" Joe questioned, well aware of Mark's constant worry for his daughter. Mark paused what he was doing. Ever since Emily started experiencing episodes of extreme fatigue and occasional fainting, he had been trying to schedule appointments at the local health clinic, but the lines were endless, and the doctors always seemed overwhelmed. "I didn't want to take advantage of the situation, Joe. The woman was already in trouble," Mark justified, but his expression revealed that the thought had crossed his mind. "Nonsense, kid. When God puts an opportunity in front of us, we have to grab it," Joe insisted, wiping his hands on a dirty rag. "Take the card and call her. What do you have to lose?" That afternoon, Emily headed to downtown to pick up her car. The GPS took her through streets she had never visited, small houses pressed against each other, painted in vibrant colors that contrasted with the pothole-ridden asphalt. Children played in the street under the watchful eyes of mothers chatting on the sidewalks, and the smell of home-cooked food mingled with the sound of speakers playing country music and hip-hop. Joe's garage was on a busy corner, recognizable from afar by its faded blue facade and the handmade sign that read, "General Repairs, Joe Santos, 40 years of tradition." Emily parked the rental Accord she had picked up from the hospital and walked toward the entrance, drawing the attention of neighbors with her business attire in the informal setting. "Good afternoon. I'm looking for Mark," she announced to a skinny young man who was welding a piece. "Mark, you've got a visitor," the young man shouted, and Emily heard the familiar voice respond from inside the garage. Mark appeared, wiping his hands on a rag, visibly surprised to see her. "Dr. Emily, you didn't have to come here. I could have brought the car to the hospital. I wanted to see the place and thank you in person," Emily replied, observing the surroundings. There was something genuine about this place that contrasted with the sterile and cold environments she was used to. "Joe," Mark called, "come meet the doctor who—" "Did I tell you?" John approached, extending a calloused hand that Emily shook without hesitation. "Nice to meet you, Doctor. Charlie hasn't stopped talking about you today. He said you're a pediatrician." "Pediatric cardiologist," Emily confirmed. "I work with heart issues in children." John's eyes lit up, and he exchanged a meaningful glance with Charlie. "What a coincidence! Charlie has a daughter." "Mr. John," Charlie interrupted, clearly embarrassed. "Let me finish, boy. Lily has been having some problems. She faints sometimes and gets really tired. We've been trying to schedule an appointment at the clinic for months, but—" Emily immediately paid attention. As a doctor, she knew how to recognize warning signs, and the symptoms described could indicate several heart conditions. "How long has she been experiencing these symptoms?" Charlie hesitated, torn between pride and concern for his daughter. "About 4 months. It started slowly, just fatigue, but now, last week she fainted at school." "And have you done any tests?" Emily asked, automatically switching into doctor mode. "The clinic doctor ordered some blood tests, said it might be anemia. But Lily has always eaten well. She's never been a weak child," Charlie explained, the worry evident in his voice. Emily quickly reflected. Based on the symptoms described and the child's age, there were several diagnostic possibilities that would need to be properly investigated. Charlie, can I make a suggestion? At the hospital where I work now, we have a social program. I can evaluate Lily at no cost. It's the least I can do after the help you gave me. Doctor, I can't accept that. You've already done too much. Charlie began to protest. You saved me on my first day at the new job, Emily insisted. And as a doctor, I can't ignore a situation that could be serious. At least let me examine her properly. John discreetly elbowed Charlie. Accept it, man. Lily needs it. At that moment, an 8-year-old girl came running through the door of the garage, wearing the municipal school uniform, a blue skirt, white shirt, and worn-out sneakers, but impeccably clean. Dad, I finished my homework, she announced, stopping abruptly upon seeing Emily. Even with her slightly breathless from running, Lily had a radiant smile that lit up her round face, framed by brown hair tied in 2 braids. Lily, come here, princess. I want to introduce you to someone, Charlie called, the paternal love evident in every word. The girl approached shyly, but without losing her curiosity. Emily knelt to be at the child's level, immediately noticing the subtle paleness of her skin and slightly bluish nails, signs that confirmed her initial suspicions. Hi, Lily. I'm Emily. Your dad helped me a lot this morning, Emily said in the soft voice she reserved for her little patients. Are you the doctor that Dad took on his bike? Lily asked, her eyes shining with curiosity. He said you take care of children. That's right. And what do you want to be when you grow up? A veterinarian, Lily replied without hesitation. I want to take care of all the abandoned animals in the neighborhood. There are so many here. Emily smiled, touched by the purity of the girl's dream, but professionally, her attention was focused on the subtle signs she observed. The slightly accelerated breathing, the posture indicating compensation to conserve energy, and especially the faint bluish tint of the lips. Lily is very smart. She's always been the best in her class, Charlie said proudly, affectionately running his hand through his daughter's hair. I'm sure of that, Emily agreed. How about we schedule that checkup we talked about, Charlie? Lily, would you like to visit the hospital where I work? It's really big and has some interesting equipment. Lily looked at her father, who was still hesitating. Dad, can I? I've never seen a hospital from the inside. The child's innocence broke Charlie's last resistance. As a single father for 2 years, since losing his wife in a car accident, every decision related to Lily weighed like the world on his shoulders. Okay, princess. If Dr. Emily doesn't mind, Charlie conceded. Of course I don't mind. On the contrary, it will be a pleasure, Emily said, taking a card from her bag and writing on the back. This is my direct contact. Call tomorrow and I'll schedule it for this week. As Emily said goodbye and walked towards her repaired Camry, she heard Lily ask her father, Dad, why are you smiling like that? The innocent question made her smile too. There was something about that family that awakened in her a feeling she hadn't felt in a long time, a genuine desire to help not out of professional obligation, but from a real human connection. That night in her empty apartment in Maplewood, Emily had dinner, alone, thinking about the garage, the smell of oil mixed with the aroma of bread from the nearby bakery, and especially about the 8-year-old girl who wanted to care for abandoned animals and might need urgent medical attention. On the other side of the city, Charlie was putting Lily to bed in the small house behind the garage, promising himself that he would make the call the next day, even if it hurt his pride. Thursday dawned cloudy over New York, with that characteristic smell of rain in the air that always preceded the March storms. Charlie woke up at 5:30 as always, but this time there was a different anxiety in his chest. Emily's card was on the coffee table in the small living room where he had left it the night before, staring at it as if it were a lottery ticket that could change everything. Lily was still sleeping in the next room, her breathing soft but slightly irregular, a detail Charlie had started to notice in recent weeks that kept him in a state of constant alert. "God, give me courage," he murmured softly, picking up his old cell phone and dialing the number written on the back. Helena was arriving at General Hospital carrying 2 cups of coffee, one for her and the other for Marcia, the head nurse of the pediatric department. Marcia was a 50-year-old black woman, her grey hair always tied up in a neat bun, who had worked at the hospital for 25 years and knew every child who passed through there by name. "Good morning, Dr. Helena," Marcia greeted, accepting the coffee with a warm smile. "How was your adaptation in the first week?" "Better than I expected," Helena replied, sitting down in the small break room decorated with colourful drawings made by the patients. "It's different from a private clinic. Here, people come with real stories, real problems." "Exactly. There's no fuss about platinum insurance or presidential suites here. It's real medicine," Marcia commented, taking a sip of her coffee. "Speaking of which, you have a new child coming in this morning. Last-minute appointment." Helena frowned, checking her schedule on the tablet. "I don't see anything scheduled." At that moment her phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" she answered, standing up and walking toward the window that overlooked the hospital's inner courtyard. "Dr. Helena, it's Carlos, the one with the motorcycle." The hesitant voice on the other end made her smile immediately. "Carlos, I'm so glad you called. How are you?" "I'm good, thank you. Doctor, about Lily. If you could take a look at her, I would really appreciate it." Helena could hear the internal struggle between pride and paternal love in his voice. "Of course, Carlos. How about today? I have an opening at 2 in the afternoon." "Today?" The surprise was evident in his voice. "Doctor, are you sure? I don't want to be a bother." "You're not a bother at all. Bring Lily at 2 o'clock. The hospital is located at Dr. Oviedo Street, 225. Ask for pediatric cardiology. I'll be waiting." After hanging up, Helena approached Marcia's desk. "Marcia, I need to fit in a patient today at 2. It's an 8-year-old child with possible heart symptoms." "Medicaid or private?" Marcia asked, already jotting it down in the schedule. "Social program," Helena replied, and Marcia nodded understandingly. "Got it. I'll prepare room 3. It's cozier for kids. And Dr. Helena, I'm so glad you came to work here. It's been a while since we've seen a private doctor interested in our real patients." At exactly 2 o'clock, Carlos and Lily arrived at the main hall of General Hospital. Lily was wearing her best outfit, a light blue dress that had belonged to her mother when she was a child, carefully kept by Carlos, and polished black shoes that shone brightly. Her hair was styled in an elaborate braid that had taken Carlos 20 minutes to do. "Dad, it's really big in here," Lily commented, holding tightly to her father's hand and looking up in awe at the high ceiling and the seemingly endless corridors. "It is, Princess, but Dr. Helena will take care of us," Carlos replied, also impressed by the grandeur of the place. He wore his only dress shirt, navy blue and dark jeans, the same outfit he wore on the rare special occasions. "You must be Carlos and Lily." Helena appeared in the hall, wearing a white coat over a light green blouse. She had swapped her high heels for flats and tied her hair back in a more casual ponytail. "What punctuality!" Lily shyly hid behind her father, but her curious eyes were examining everything around. "Dr. Helena, how many people work here?" "Many, Lily, thousands. Doctors, nurses, physical therapists, nutritionists. Would you like me to show you some interesting places before the appointment?" The impromptu tour of the hospital became an adventure for Lily. Helena took her to see the echocardiography room, explaining how the machines could take pictures of the heart, and then to the internal garden, where some patients were doing physical therapy outdoors. See, Lily, medicine isn't just about medicine and injections. It's about caring for whole people, Helena explained as they watched a 10-year-old child doing exercises with the physical therapist. Like how veterinary medicine cares for whole animals? Lily asked, making the connection that made Helena smile. Exactly like veterinary medicine, Lily. You're going to be a great veterinarian. Carlos watched the interaction between Helena and his daughter with growing admiration. It was evident that Helena had a natural gift with children, a patience and kindness that went beyond professionalism. Lily, usually shy around strangers, was already animatedly talking about her dream of caring for abandoned animals. "Doctor, there's a dog on our street that's always hurt. Its owner is really mean and—" Lily began to tell, but a wave of dizziness made her stop and lean on her father's hand. Helena immediately noticed the change in the girl's posture. "Lily, are you feeling okay?" "Just a little dizzy. It'll pass soon," Lily replied, trying to smile, but Carlos was already on high alert. "It happens sometimes," Carlos explained to Helena, "especially when she gets really excited or exerts herself." "Let's do our appointment now then," Helena decided, guiding them toward the office. "Lily, have you ever had a heart exam?" "Never. The doctor at the clinic only looked at my throat and ordered a blood test," Lily replied, now more comfortable walking slowly. The pediatric cardiology office was different from the others. Walls painted with colorful motifs, stuffed animals strategically placed, and a special chair for children. Helena had personalized the space during her first week, investing her own money in details that would make children feel less intimidated. "Lily, I'm going to examine you as if it were a complete veterinary checkup, okay?" Helena proposed, picking up the stethoscope. "First, let's listen to your heart to see if it's telling us anything important." "The heart talks?" Lily asked, fascinated. "Of course, every beat tells a story. Shall we listen to yours?" As Helena examined Lily, Carlos observed every movement, every expression of the doctor. When she slightly furrowed her brow while listening to the heartbeat, in the heart of the girl, he felt his stomach tighten. "Lily, your heart is beating a little differently than normal," Emily explained carefully. "It's nothing to be scared of, but we need to run some tests to understand better what's happening." "Different how?" Mark asked, his voice tense. Emily addressed him professionally but without losing her kindness. "I detected a murmur that may indicate some conditions. I need to do an echocardiogram and an electrocardiogram to be sure of the diagnosis." "Is it serious?" The question slipped out as a whisper from Mark's lips. "We'll find out together," Emily replied, placing her hand on his shoulder. "Many heart conditions in children are treatable, Mark. The important thing is that we are investigating it now." Lily, sensing the tension in the air, held her father's hand. "Dad, don't be sad. Dr. Emily will take care of my heart, just like I will take care of the animals." The simplicity of the child's faith deeply moved Emily. Here was an 8-year-old girl facing a possible heart condition with more courage than many adults she had treated. In private clinics. "That's right, Lily. And you know what? I'll request to do the tests today, if you can stay," Emily decided. "That way, you won't have to come back another day." Mark hesitated for just a moment. "Doctor, how much is all this going to cost?" "Mark, remember the favor you did for me on the road. Consider this a favor in return. The hospital has a social program for special cases." That afternoon, while Lily underwent the tests with the typical curiosity of a child, asking about every machine, every procedure, Emily found herself thinking about how her life had changed in a week. 7 days earlier, she was trapped in an unhappy marriage, working in a clinic where money mattered more than patience. Now, Looking at that brave girl and her devoted father, she felt she had found something she had been searching for years without knowing: real purpose. The tests confirmed her suspicions. Lily had an atrial septal defect, a small hole between the two upper chambers of the heart that was causing overload and explaining all the symptoms. "Is it operable?" Mark asked when Emily explained the results. "Perfectly. It's a delicate surgery, but with excellent outcomes. Lily can live a completely normal life after the procedure." "And how much—" "Mark," Emily gently interrupted, "let's take one step at a time. First, I'll consult with the most experienced pediatric cardiac surgeon I know. Then we'll talk about the next steps." As they said goodbye that afternoon, Lily hugged Emily. "Thank you for taking care of my heart, Dr. Emily. Can I still dream about taking care of the animals?" "Of course you can, Lily. And you know what? I'm sure you will be the best veterinarian this world has ever seen." As father and daughter walked down the hospital corridors, Emily stood by the window watching until they disappeared. For the first time in years, she felt truly useful. And for the first time since the divorce, she didn't feel alone. The month of April brought an unexpected routine for Emily. Every Friday, she had started volunteering at Professor Antonio Carlos Municipal School, the same one where Lily studied. The principal, Mrs. Smith, a 60-year-old woman with the energy of a 20-year-old, had been thrilled when Emily offered to give health talks to the children. "Dr. Emily, the kids wait all week for Friday to come," Mrs. Smith commented as they walked through the schoolyard during recess. The place was simple but well kept. Walls painted in bright colors, a small garden maintained by the students themselves, and a sports court where dozens of children played happily. "I look forward to it too," Emily confessed, watching Lily in the midst of a group of classmates. The girl was sitting in the shade of a tree, telling some story that made others laugh. But Emily noticed that she avoided games that required too much physical effort. "Lily is special, isn't she?" Mrs. Smith followed Emily's gaze. "She has always been one of the smartest in the class, but lately her teacher, Mrs. Johnson, has noticed that she gets more tired than usual." Emily nodded, concerned. Since the appointment 2 weeks earlier, she had been discreetly monitoring Lily during her visits to the school. The surgery was already scheduled for the following month, but the symptoms seemed to be gradually intensifying. "Dr. Emily," Lily ran toward her, followed by 3 curious classmates. "Did you come to see my presentation about professions?" "Of course, Lily. I wouldn't miss it for anything," Emily replied, noticing that the girl was slightly out of breath from the short run. "I'm going to talk about being a veterinarian, and you about being a doctor. It's going to be the best presentation in the school," Lily said enthusiastically, but she needed to discreetly lean on the nearby table. "Lily, are you okay?" Emily asked, automatically switching to medical mode. "Just a little tired. I didn't sleep well last night," Lily explained, but her smile remained radiant. That afternoon, Emily witnessed something that deeply marked her. During the presentation about professions, when it was Lily's turn to speak, the girl stood up determined and began to explain why she wanted to be a veterinarian. "I want to be a veterinarian because animals can't speak when they're in pain, so someone needs to take care of them and understand what they're feeling," Lily said, gesturing animatedly to the 3rd grade class. "Just like Dr. Emily does with the children, she can understand what our hearts are trying to say." It was at that moment that Lily fainted. Emily was by her side in seconds, checking her pulse and breathing while Mrs. Smith moved the other children away. The fainting spell lasted only a few seconds, but when Lily opened her eyes, Emily saw a fragility in them that frightened her. "Dad," Lily murmured, still dizzy. "We've already called your dad, dear. Stay calm," Mrs. Smith said, kneeling beside them. Mark arrived at the school in 15 minutes, nearly tipping over his motorcycle at the gate. His eyes were red with worry when he found Lily lay in the makeshift infirmary of the school, with Emily monitoring her vital signs. "How is she?" Mark asked, going straight to his daughter's side. "Stable, but we need to expedite the surgery," Emily said softly. "The episodes are becoming more frequent." Mark sat in the chair next to the stretcher where Lily rested, taking his daughter's small hand in his. "Princess, how are you feeling?" "Better now that you're here, Dad," Lily replied with a weak but sincere smile. "I'm sorry for scaring you." "You never scare me, my love. You make me proud every day," Mark said, kissing his daughter's forehead. Emily watched the interaction between father and daughter with a tightness in her heart. Mark's devotion to Lily was absolute, pure, without any reservations. It was the kind of love she had seen only a few times in her life, making her question her own choices over the years. "Mark, can I talk to you for a moment?" Emily asked, signaling to step out of Lily's hearing range. In the school hallway, with the noise of children returning from classes in the background, Emily explained the situation. "The atrial septal defect is causing more strain than I initially thought. I need to urgently speak with Dr. Robert Smith, the pediatric cardiac surgeon." "Is he the one who will operate on Lily?" Mark asked. "If he accepts the case, Robert is one of the best in the country, but also one of the most expensive. He mainly works in private hospitals," Emily explained, hesitating before continuing. "Mark, I need to be honest with you. This surgery through Medicaid could take months to be approved, and Lily doesn't have that time." Mark's face fell. He knew where that conversation was heading. "Doctor, I can't afford a private surgery. You must know how much I earn at the garage." "I know, Mark, but maybe we can find an alternative. Leave it to me, okay?" That night, Emily did something she hadn't done in years. She called her father. Dr. Edward Johnson answered on the second ring, as always. At 68, he remained one of the most influential doctors in New York, owner of a network of 3 private hospitals, and known for his strictness both professionally and personally. "Emily, what a surprise. How's work at the, what do you call that place, public hospital?" His voice carried the tone of disapproval that Emily knew well. "Dad, I need a favor." Emily got straight to the point, knowing that beating around the bush wouldn't work with Edward. "Oh, I see. Money to get back to reality. I warned you that this rebellious phase wouldn't last long." "No, Dad. I need you to approve a pro bono pediatric cardiac surgery at St. Helena Hospital," Emily said, referring to her father's most luxurious hospital. Silence on the other end of the line. "Emily, have you lost your mind? Do you know how much a pediatric cardiac surgery costs? And why on earth would I do that? Because it's an 8-year-old child who could die if not operated on soon, and because your daughter is asking," Emily replied, her voice firm. "Your daughter who decided to throw away 15 years of career to play Mother Teresa. Emily, get back to reality. If you want to help poor children, make donations. Don't turn my hospitals into charity institutions." Emily took a deep breath, controlling her anger. "Dad, do you know Dr. Robert Smith?" "Of course, one of the best surgeons in the country." "Why?" "He agreed to do the surgery for free if we can secure the operating room. It would be an interesting case for him to study, an atrial septal defect with rare characteristics." This wasn't true. Emily hadn't spoken to Robert yet, but she knew her father well enough to know he respected renowned names in medicine. "Robert Smith agreed. Why didn't you tell me that before?" Edward seemed interested. "Is he looking to do some research?" "He is interested in the case, yes," Emily maintained the lie. "It would also be good marketing for the hospital. St. Helena Hospital saves the life of a needy child in pioneering surgery. Imagine the positive impact." Emily heard her father thinking on the other end of the line. Edward Johnson never turned down a well-planned marketing opportunity. All right, but with conditions. You go back to working part-time in the private network too. I'm tired of this philanthropic phase of yours. Dad, these are my terms, Emily. Take it or leave it. Emily closed her eyes, knowing she was making a pact with the devil, but thinking of Lily's smile. All right, Dad, but first the surgery. Agreed. But Emily, did Robert Smith really agree to this? I'll talk to him tomorrow, Emily said, which technically wasn't a lie. After hanging up, Emily stood still in the middle of her empty apartment, looking at the medical school graduation photo on the sideboard. At 25, when she took that photo, she dreamed of saving lives. She never imagined that 20 years later she would be lying to her own father to save a child. She picked up the phone again and called Dr. Robert Smith, a colleague from her residency days who had become one of the most respected surgeons in the country. Robert, it's Emily Johnson. I really need to talk to you about a special case. Across town, Mark was putting Lily to bed, telling her a story about a veterinary princess who saved magical animals. Lily listened attentively, but her eyes showed a fatigue beyond her years. Dad, is Dr. Emily going to fix my heart? She asked before falling asleep. Yes, Princess, Dr. Emily is special. She will take care of you, Mark replied, kissing his daughter's forehead. I like her, Dad. She's pretty and smells nice, and she treats us like we're important. Mark smiled, but inside a question echoed. What would he do if he lost Lily too? That night, two people at opposite ends of the city shared the same worry, an 8-year-old child who had become the center of their lives. Dr. Robert Smith was a 48-year-old man with graying hair at the temples and strong hands that had saved hundreds of children over 20 years of practice. His office at General Hospital reflected his status: mahogany furniture, framed diplomas covering an entire wall, and a privileged view of the city of New York. Lily, it's been a while since we last saw each other, Robert said, standing up to greet her. I heard about your divorce. How are you? Better than I expected, actually, Lily replied, sitting in the leather armchair in front of his desk. Robert, I came to talk about a case that might interest you. Lily explained Sophia's case in technical detail, showing the tests on her tablet. Robert analyzed, each image with the meticulous attention that had made him famous. Atrial septal defect with interesting anatomical features, he murmured, enlarging one of the echocardiogram images. Look here, Lily. The defect has an unusual location. It would be an excellent case for next month's pediatric cardiology conference. Robert, the family cannot afford private surgery, and it could take months to be approved through Medicaid, Lily explained. The child doesn't have that time. Robert leaned back in his chair, considering the proposal. And you're suggesting that I perform the surgery for free? My father agreed to provide the surgical center at St. Helena without cost. It would be a unique opportunity to study this rare anatomical variation, and you know how Eduardo likes cases that generate positive publicity. Your father? Lily, have you started talking to Eduardo again? Robert seemed surprised. He knew the complicated relationship between Lily and her father from their residency days. Let's just say we've come to a temporary agreement, Lily said, avoiding going into details. The important thing is the child, Robert. She's special. Robert studied Lily for a moment. They had been colleagues during their residency, and he knew that determined look she had when something truly mattered to her. All right, Lily, I'll do the surgery, but I want to meet the child first, and the father too. The father, Lily corrected. She lost her mother 2 years ago. I see. Schedule it for tomorrow afternoon. I want to do a complete evaluation before confirming the surgery date. Meanwhile, at Joe's garage, Mark was trying to focus on the engine of a 2015 Accord, but his mind was completely occupied with the conversation he had with Lily the night before. She had called to say she found a surgeon, but she hadn't given any. Details about costs or timelines. "Charlie, you look more lost than a blind man in a shootout," commented Ronaldo, a 30-year-old mechanic who had worked at the garage for 5 years. "Did something happen?" "Sophia's going to have heart surgery," Mark replied, tightening a part with more force than necessary. "That's good, right?" John approached, wiping his hands on a dirty grease rag. "Yes, but I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. Dr. Lily said she found a surgeon, but heart surgery must cost a fortune," Mark sighed. "Sometimes I think I should accept help from Mariana's brother. He always offers money, but you have pride, and that's not a flaw," John completed. "Mark, sometimes we need to swallow our pride for our children. It's just that I don't want Sophia to grow up thinking we depend on others. I want her to see that her father can take care of her on his own," Mark explained, his voice heavy with emotion. "Man, raising a daughter alone already proves that you can take care of her. Accepting help when you need it doesn't make you less of a man," Ronaldo added. "My sister went through the same thing with her son. He needed an expensive surgery, and the whole family came together to help. Today, the boy is strong and healthy." At that moment, the phone at the garage rang. It was Lily. "Mark, I managed to schedule with the surgeon for tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon. Can you go?" "Of course, doctor. Where is it?" "General Hospital. It's private, but don't worry about that now, okay?" Mark felt his stomach tighten. General Hospital was synonymous with astronomically high costs. "Dr. Lily, I need to know how much this is going to cost. I can't take on a debt I can't pay." Lily hesitated on the other end of the line. "Mark, trust me, okay? We'll talk about all of this after you meet Dr. Robert. He's an exceptional doctor." The next day, Mark and Sophia arrived at General Hospital dressed in their best clothes. Sophia wore a light pink dress that had belonged to her mother and polished black shoes that shone. Mark wore a light blue dress shirt and black dress pants, clothes he had bought specifically for the occasion, spending nearly half of his weekly salary. The contrast between father and daughter and the luxurious hospital environment was evident. The lobby had high ceilings, Italian marble floors, and modern artwork decorating the walls. Well-dressed people moved about naturally, while Mark felt completely out of place. "Dad, it's really beautiful here," Sophia commented, impressed by the grandeur of the place. "It looks like a mall." "It does, Princess. But remember that here we speak softly and behave well, okay?" Lily met them at the reception, wearing a beige blazer and black dress pants, clearly adapted to the environment. "How are you both? Ready to meet Dr. Robert?" "Dr. Lily, you look beautiful," Sophia commented, making Lily smile. "Thank you, Sophia. You look lovely too. Dr. Robert will love meeting you." Robert's office impressed even Lily, who was used to sophisticated medical environments. Sophia examined everything with curiosity, especially the anatomical heart models displayed in a showcase. "So you are Sophia," Robert said as he entered, crouching down to be at the girl's height. "Lily has told me a lot about you. I heard you want to be a veterinarian." "Yes, sir. I want to take care of all the abandoned animals," Sophia replied, with enthusiasm, quickly losing the initial shyness. "Excellent. Oh, Joyce. And this must be your father," Dr. Robert Smith addressed Mark, extending his hand. "Mark, right? Nice to meet you." Mark shook the doctor's hand, intimidated by the elegance and confidence of the surgeon. "The pleasure is mine, Doctor. Thank you for agreeing to take care of Lily. Emily showed me Lily's tests, and it is indeed an interesting case," Dr. Smith explained, sitting behind the desk. "I will need to conduct some additional tests to plan the surgery properly." "Doctor, I need to know, how much is all of this going to cost?" Mark asked, his voice tense. Dr. Smith exchanged a quick glance with Emily. "Mark, let's focus on Lily first, okay? We can sort out the financial aspects later." "With all due respect, Doctor, but I need to know what I'm getting into." I can't let my daughter start treatment that I won't be able to afford, Mark insisted, discomfort evident in his posture. Emily took a deep breath. It was time for the truth. Mark, the surgery will be done at no cost to you. What do you mean? Mark frowned. Dr. Smith agreed to perform the surgery for free as part of a study he is developing. The hospital will also provide the surgical center, Emily explained, deliberately omitting details about her agreement with Mr. Johnson. Mark fell silent for a few seconds, processing the information. Doctor, no one works for free, especially not a doctor of this caliber in this hospital. What do you want in return? Dr. Smith was impressed by Mark's perception. Actually, Mark, Lily's case is academically interesting to me. I can use the data for research, obviously keeping her anonymity. And that's it? Mark asked, still suspicious. That's it, Emily confirmed, feeling guilty for not telling the whole truth about the agreement with Mr. Johnson. Lily, who had been quietly observing the conversation, approached her father. Dad, they want to help me just like you helped Dr. Emily on the road. Sometimes people are good just because they are good. The simplicity of Lily's observation broke the tension in the room. Mark looked at his daughter, then at Emily and Dr. Smith, and finally nodded. All right, but I want to contribute in some way. I won't accept complete charity. Mark, your daughter being well will be the greatest contribution you can make, Dr. Smith said sincerely. In that moment, watching Lily explain to Dr. Smith about her dream of taking care of animals, Emily realized she had fallen in love, not just with the child, but with the purity of that family that had turned a simple act of kindness into something much greater. And for the first time in years, she felt part of something genuinely important. The surgery was scheduled for the following week. As they left the hospital, Lily held both Emily's and her father's hands simultaneously. Dr. Emily, after my heart gets better, will you still be our friend? Always, Lily. Forever. Mark looked at Emily and for the first time saw in her not just the doctor who was saving his daughter, but the woman who had brought hope back into their lives. The week leading up to Lily's surgery was marked by a growing tension that seemed to permeate every aspect of Emily's life. On Monday morning, she was in her office at the General Hospital reviewing the latest pre-operative tests when her phone rang. It was her father. Emily, I need to talk to you. Now. Mr. Johnson's voice carried an authority that brooked no contradiction. Dad, I'm working. Can it be later? It's about the girl's case. Come to my office in an hour. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. Her father's tone indicated trouble, and she knew that Mr. Johnson never called meetings without serious reason. Mr. Johnson's office occupied the entire top floor of St. Helena Hospital, with a panoramic view of the city and decor that resembled a business club more than a medical environment. At 68, Mr. Johnson maintained an upright posture and a piercing gaze that had intimidated both doctors and businessmen for decades. Sit down, Emily, he said, without looking up from the documents on the table. I spoke with Dr. Robert Smith yesterday. Emily felt her heart race, but kept her expression neutral. And he told me that you approached him asking for a free surgery, that you said I had agreed to provide the surgical center. Mr. Johnson finally looked up, staring at his daughter. Imagine my surprise to find out that Dr. Smith never agreed to anything when you came to talk to me. Emily took a deep breath. Dad, I can explain. You lied, Emily. To me and to him. You manipulated the situation to get what you wanted. Mr. Johnson stood up, walking to the window. Do you know what this cost me? Dr. Smith called me yesterday questioning my methods, thinking I orchestrated this situation for cheap publicity. Dad, it's an 8-year-old child who could die if she doesn't have surgery, Emily said, standing up as well. I thought you would understand that. I understand, Emily, but I won't accept being deceived by my own daughter. Mr. Johnson turned to face her. Do you know what the cost of your little lie will be? $120,000. That is the total cost of the surgery, surgical center, hospitalization, medications, and Dr. Smith's fees. Emily paled. Dad, you will pay, Emily, every cent, or the surgery doesn't happen. I don't have that money. You know how much I earn at the public hospital. Then I suggest you accept the offer from St. Raphael Clinic. Dr. Mark called me last week offering you a managerial position. Salary of $40,000 a month. Mr. Johnson returned to his chair, satisfied with the effect of his words. With that salary, you can finance the surgery in 2 years. 2 years? Lily won't be 2 years old, Dad. Then find another solution, or accept that your idealistic choices have consequences. Mr. Johnson opened a drawer and took out an envelope. Here is the detailed budget. You have 48 hours to give a definitive answer. Lily left her father's office, trembling with anger and despair. In the elevator, she felt tears threatening to spill over, but she held it together until she reached the car. There, alone in the underground parking lot, she finally cried, out of frustration, helplessness, and mainly fear of having to tell Mark and Sarah that the surgery could not happen. Meanwhile, Mark was going through the worst work week of his life, not because of problems at the garage, but because his mind was completely focused on the surgery scheduled for Friday. Every strange noise that Sarah made during her sleep jolted him awake. Every episode of fatigue from the girl made him consider rushing to the hospital. Dad, you're different, Sarah commented on Tuesday morning while they had breakfast at the small kitchen table. Are you sad about my surgery? No, Princess. I'm happy because you're going to be okay, Mark lied, forcing a smile as he spread butter on his daughters. Bread. But you're not sleeping well. I hear you walking around the house at night, Sarah insisted, with that sharp perception that children have. Are you afraid I'll die like Mommy? Sarah's direct question hit Mark like a punch to the stomach. He stopped what he was doing and knelt beside his daughter's chair. Sarah, look at me, he said, holding her small face in his hands. You are not going to die. Dr. Lily and Dr. Robert are the best doctors in the world, and they are going to take very good care of your heart. Then why are you scared? Mark sighed. How could he explain to an 8-year-old that he was terrified of being alone in the world? That since Mariana's death, Sarah was all that gave meaning to his life. You know, Princess, when we love someone very, very much, we worry. It's normal, but that doesn't mean something bad is going to happen. Sarah nodded, seeming satisfied with the explanation. Dad, can I tell you a secret? Of course, my love. I'm a little scared too, but do you know why I'm not too scared? Why? Because Dr. Lily promised she would take care of me, and she never breaks promises, Sarah said with the absolute certainty that only children can have. That afternoon, Lily finally made a decision. She called Dr. Mark Johnson, director of St. Raphael Clinic, one of the most prestigious private clinics in New York. Lily! What a surprise! I was waiting for your call for weeks, Dr. Mark answered on the first ring. Have you thought about our proposal? Dr. Mark, I accept the position, but with one condition. I need to start immediately and I need a salary advance. An advance? How much? Lily took a deep breath. $120,000. Silence on the other end of the line. Lily, that's a significant amount. May I ask why? It's for a surgery. A child who needs urgent care. I understand. Well, considering your resume and our need to have you on the team quickly, I can approve it. But you will need to sign a 3-year contract, non-renewable, before that period. Lily closed her eyes. 3 years working exclusively in a private clinic meant 3 years away from the social work that had given new meaning to her life. But when she thought of Sarah's smile, the decision became easy. "I accept, Dr. Mark." "Excellent. Can you start on Monday? And Lily, welcome back to the real world." On Wednesday night, Lily went to Joe's garage. It was the first time she visited Mark at home, and she was surprised by the cozy simplicity of the place. The small house behind the garage was small, but impeccably clean and organized. Sarah was doing homework at the living room table while Mark prepared dinner in the open kitchen. "Dr. Lily," Sarah ran to hug her. "What a surprise. Did you come to have dinner with us?" "If you invite me, I would love to," Lily replied, feeling genuinely welcomed. "Of course, Doctor, it's not very fancy, but—" Mark approached, wiping his hands on the apron he was wearing. There was something domestic and comforting in the scene that touched Lily deeply. "Mark, can I talk to you for a moment, in private?" They stepped out into the small backyard, where Mark kept a modest garden, and Sarah raised 2 pet rabbits she had found abandoned. "Is something wrong with the surgery?" Mark asked immediately, concern etched on his face. "No, the surgery is confirmed for Friday, but Mark, I need to tell you the truth about how I managed to arrange all of this," Lily said, and then explained the whole agreement with her father, the lie to Robert, and finally the decision to accept the job at the private clinic. Mark listened in silence, his expressions alternating between surprise, gratitude, and something that seemed like guilt. "Dr. Lily, you didn't have to do all of this," he said when she finished. "It's not fair for you to sacrifice your life for Sarah." "Mark, it's not a sacrifice. It's a choice," Lily replied, looking at the lit window where Sarah continued doing her homework. "Sarah taught me something I had forgotten, that medicine exists to care for people, not to enrich doctors. But 3 years working only with rich people. They will pass quickly. And Mark, I want you to know that I didn't do this expecting anything in return. I did it because you both have become important to me." Mark took a step closer, and for the first time since they met, the space between them felt charged with something beyond medical gratitude. "Lily," he said, using her first name for the first time, "I don't know how to thank you for what you are doing, and I don't know how I will ever repay you." "Letting Sarah be happy and healthy is already enough repayment," Lily replied, but she didn't pull away when Mark placed his hand on her shoulder. "Sarah!" Mark called. "Come here quickly!" The girl appeared in the... Curious, Sophia peeked through the door. "What is it, Dad?" "I want you to know that Dr. Lily is very special. She is doing amazing things to take care of you." Sophia looked at Lily, then at her dad. And with that wisdom that children sometimes show, she said, "Dad, you like Dr. Lily, don't you?" Mark blushed, but didn't deny it. "Sophia, I like her too. Can she be part of our family after I get better?" Sophia asked, with the innocence of someone who doesn't see complications where adults see social chasms. Lily felt her eyes well up with tears. "Sophia, you and your dad are already family to me." That night, the 3 of them had dinner together at the small kitchen table, eating rice, beans, steak, and salad, but for Lily, it was the most meaningful meal she had had in years. Sophia chattered about school, Mark shared funny stories from Joe's garage, and Lily felt part of something real and genuine for the first time in her adult life. When she left, it was almost 10 at night. Mark walked her to the car. "Lily, after the surgery, when all this is over, would you like to have dinner with us again?" "Mark, I would love that. But are you sure? We come from very different worlds." "Maybe we do. But Sophia is right. Sometimes people connect simply because they are good to each other." 2 days later, on Friday morning, they would meet at the hospital for the surgery that would change all 3 of their lives forever. Friday dawned with a light, persistent rain over New York, the kind of weather that envelops the city in a solemn atmosphere. Mark woke up at 5 in the morning, the same time as always, but this time with a tightness in his chest that felt suffocating. Sophia was still asleep in the next room, and he took the quiet minutes to say a prayer he hadn't uttered since Sarah's funeral. My God, if you really exist, protect my girl today. She's all I have, he murmured softly, his hands trembling as he prepared a coffee he knew he wouldn't be able to drink. At 7 in the morning, Sophia woke up more excited than Mark expected. She had slept well and woke up talking about how interesting it would be to see the inside of the hospital during the surgery. "Dad, when I wake up, will my heart be new?" she asked as Mark brushed her hair into 2 perfect braids. "It will be perfect, Princess, just like you," Mark replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Lily arrived at St. Helena Hospital at 7:30, an hour before the scheduled time. She had spent the night awake, mentally reviewing every detail of the procedure, every possible complication, every post-operative protocol. She wore a navy blazer over black dress pants, but beneath the professional appearance, her heart raced with nerves. Dr. Robert Smith had been at the hospital since 6 in the morning, reviewing Sophia's tests one last time and personally checking every piece of equipment that would be used in the surgery. At 48 years old, he had performed over 1,000 pediatric heart surgeries. But each case still brought him the same responsibility he felt on his first day of residency. "Lily!" Robert greeted her as she entered the prep room. "How is the family?" Mark is nervous but composed. "Sophia is surprisingly calm," Lily replied, checking the time. "They should arrive in half an hour." "And you? How are you?" Lily hesitated before answering. "Scared. I know it's a routine procedure for you, but for me, this girl has become special." Robert observed her closely. In 20 years of practice, he had seen many doctors become emotionally involved with patients. But there was something different about Lily's case. "Lily, can I ask you a personal question?" "Sure. This case, it's not just about the child, is it?" Lily blushed slightly. "What do you mean?" "The father. You've fallen for him too." Robert's direct statement caught Lily off guard. She opened her mouth to deny it, but realized it would be futile to lie to someone who had known her for so long. "Is it that obvious?" "To those who know you, yes." "Lily, there's nothing wrong with that. But today, you need to be a doctor, not a love-struck woman. Sophia needs your clinical mind functioning perfectly." Lily nodded, taking a deep breath to regain her professional focus. "You're right. Thank you for reminding me." At 8:30, Mark and Sophia arrived at the hospital. Sophia wore a new pajama set that Mark had bought especially for the occasion. Pink, with puppy designs, because she had said she wanted to look pretty for the doctors. Mark wore a white dress shirt and dark jeans, the best clothes he owned. "Dr. Lily!" Sophia ran to hug her as soon as she saw her in the entrance hall. "I'm ready to fix my heart." Lily knelt to be at the girl's level, impressed by her courage. "Sophia, you are the bravest girl I know. I learned from my dad. He taught me that when we're scared, we take a deep breath and remember that God is taking care of us." Sophia said, looking at Mark with admiration. Mark stepped closer, clearly trying to control his emotion. "Dr. Lily, how will it work? How long will it take?" "The surgery should take between 2 to 3 hours. Dr. Robert will make a small incision and correct the atrial septal defect. It's a procedure he has done hundreds of times," Lily explained, automatically switching to medical mode. "Sophia will go to the operating room at 9, and then she will go straight to the pediatric ICU for monitoring." "Can I stay with her until she falls asleep?" Mark asked. "Of course, and I will be there too," Lily assured him. The preparation process for the surgery was surprisingly calm. Sophia asked questions about every procedure, from changing into her gown to inserting the IV, treating it all like a grand educational adventure. "Dad, when I wake up, will you be there?" "Are you going to be here?" she asked. When it was time to say goodbye at the door of the operating room. "I'll be right here, Princess. I won't leave, even if they pay me," Mark replied, kissing his daughter's forehead. "I love you more than anything in this world." "I love you too, Dad. And Dr. Lily, thank you for taking care of me," Lily said, kissing Helena's hand before being taken away by the nursing team. Mark stood in the hallway, watching the door to the operating room close, and for the first time since he arrived at the hospital, his defenses crumbled. Lily saw him lean against the wall, his shoulders shaking with the silent sobs he was trying to control. "Mark," she approached, placing her hand on his shoulder. "She's going to be okay." "Lily, if anything happens to her," he started, his voice choked. "Nothing is going to happen. Robert is the best surgeon I know, and Lily is a warrior," Lily said firmly. "Let's go to the waiting room. I'll stay with you until she wakes up." The cardiac surgery waiting room was designed to ease the anguish of families. Comfortable chairs, a television, a coffee machine, magazines, and a view of the hospital's inner garden. Mark sat in a chair near the window, but Lily noticed he couldn't focus on anything. "Mark, can I tell you something about Lily?" Lily said, sitting next to him. "Of course." "The first time I examined her, when I detected the heart murmur, I had a medical certainty. This girl had something special. Not just the heart condition, but something in her personality. In 15 years of treating children, I've rarely seen one with such inner strength." Mark smiled for the first time since they arrived at the hospital. Sarah always said that Lily was different, that she had her own light. Sarah was right. And do you know where Lily got that strength? Where? From you, Mark. From the unconditional love you gave her. From the security you built even after going through a terrible tragedy. Lily is brave because she has a brave father. Mark looked at Lily, and in that moment he saw not just the doctor who was saving his daughter, but the woman who had brought hope back into their lives when he didn't even know he needed hope. "Lily, can I ask you a question?" "Of course." "Why did you do all this? Lie to your father, take a job you didn't want, spend $120,000 to save a child you met a month ago?" Lily was silent for a few seconds, thinking about the answer. "You know, Mark, before I met you, I was living on autopilot. A marriage of convenience, a job for money, relationships for social status. When I found you on that road, when I met Lily, I remembered why I wanted to be a doctor, to care for people. You reminded me of who I really am. And who are you really? Someone who believes that the best things in life happen when we decide to be good to each other, expecting nothing in return." An hour and 40 minutes later, Dr. Robert appeared in the waiting room, still wearing surgical scrubs. His face showed professional satisfaction, and Mark immediately knew the news was good. "The surgery was perfect," Robert announced, and Mark felt his legs weaken with relief. Lily behaved like a champion. The atrial septal defect was completely corrected, and her heart is functioning as it should have from birth. "When can I see her?" Mark asked, tears of relief streaming down his face. "She's still in the recovery room, but in 2 hours you can visit her in the pediatric ICU. And Mark, she asked for you even before she was fully awake. The first word she said was, 'Dad.'" Lily felt her own heart tighten with emotion. There was the most beautiful proof of the love between father and daughter that she had ever witnessed. "Dr. Robert, what is the long-term prognosis?" Lily asked. "Excellent. Lily can live a completely normal life. She can run, play, participate in sports, everything an 8-year-old should do. The only limitation she had was the heart defect, which is now corrected. When they finally could see Lily in the pediatric ICU, she was awake but still groggy from the anesthesia. Her face had a healthy rosy color for the first time since Lily met her, and her lips finally had their normal hue. "Dad," she murmured when she saw Mark approaching the bed. "Is my heart fixed?" "It's perfect, Princess. Just like you," Mark replied, kissing her small hand. "Dr. Lily, thank you for taking care of me," Lily said, turning to Lily with a weak but genuine smile. "Lily, now you can achieve all your dreams. You can take care of as many animals as you want," Lily replied, feeling a deep joy she hadn't experienced in years. "And can I play running with Dad?" "You can do anything, my love. Everything," Mark confirmed. That night, while Lily slept peacefully in the ICU under medical monitoring, Mark and Lily had dinner together in the hospital cafeteria. It was a simple meal, a sandwich and juice, but for both, it was the most meaningful celebration they could imagine. "Lily, how can I thank you for what you did for us?" "Mark, you've already thanked me. You gave me back the meaning of medicine, showed me what a real family is, and—" She hesitated before finishing. "Made me remember that it's possible to love someone genuinely." Mark reached out his hand across the table, covering hers. "Lily, when all this is over, when Lily is home, fully recovered, would you like to be part of our family? For real?" Lily looked at their joined hands on the table, then into Mark's eyes, and saw there an invitation not just for romantic love, but for a life built on solid foundations, kindness, dedication, and mutual care. "Mark, nothing would make me happier." From upstairs, in the pediatric ICU, Lily slept. Calmly, with her heart functioning perfectly for the first time in her life, unaware that she had been the one to unite two people who found in each other the completeness they didn't even know they were searching for. 2 weeks after the surgery, Lily was at home, sitting in the small backyard of Joe's garage, watching her pet rabbits run freely across the grass. For the first time since Mark could remember, his daughter was able to play actively, without getting breathless or needing to stop to rest. The transformation was visible not only in the renewed energy of the girl, but also in the rosy color of her cheeks and the sparkle in her brown eyes. "Dad, look how fast Snowball can run!" Lily exclaimed, jumping up and running after the rabbit without any sign of fatigue. Mark watched from the porch, still getting used to the sight of his completely healthy daughter. For 2 years, he had grown accustomed to living in a constant state of alert, monitoring every breath Lily took, every movement that might indicate fatigue. Now, seeing the freedom with which she moved felt like a daily miracle. "Be careful not to hurt your foot, Princess," he said, but without the usual tension in his voice. "Dad, Dr. Lily said I can do everything now. Everything!" Lily shouted from a distance, spinning around with her arms wide open under the afternoon sun. Lily had become a constant presence in the lives of father and daughter. Every day after work at St. Raphael Clinic, she would stop by the garage to check on Lily's recovery and invariably ended up having dinner with them at the small kitchen table. What had started as medical care had transformed into something much deeper and more meaningful. "Mark!" John Smith called from the garage. "There's a lady here who wants to talk to you." Mark frowned. It was unusual to receive visits from women at the garage, especially during business hours. He walked to the front and found an elegant lady of about 60, her perfectly styled grey hair dressed in a beige suit that clearly cost more than his monthly salary. "Are you Mark Johnson?" the woman asked, examining him from head to toe with an expression that mixed curiosity and barely concealed disapproval. "Yes, ma'am. How can I help you?" "My name is Gloria Johnson. I am Lily's mother," she introduced herself, and Mark immediately felt his stomach tighten. "I need to talk to you." Mark wiped his hands on a cloth, trying to buy time to process the information. Lily's mother. Here, in his garage. This couldn't mean anything good. Of course, Mrs. Johnson. Would you like to come into the office? I prefer right here. I won't take long, she said, looking around with an expression that clearly showed her discomfort with the environment. I came to talk about Lily and this situation. What situation? Mark asked, although he knew exactly what she was talking about. Please, let's not pretend we don't know what this is about. My daughter's life has completely changed since she met you. She left a stable marriage, abandoned a promising career in private clinics, spent a fortune on your daughter's surgery. Mrs. Johnson, with all due respect, but Lily made all those decisions herself. I never asked her for anything, Mark interrupted, feeling anger rise within him. Oh, of course, you didn't ask directly, but you exploited her kindness, didn't you? A hard-working man, a sick child, a touching story. Gloria continued, her voice heavy with sarcasm. Lily has always been too sensitive to these dramatic cases. Mark took a deep breath, trying to control the urge to send that woman away. Ma'am, Lily is an adult who makes her own decisions. That's exactly what I came to talk to you about. Lily is making a mistake that will affect the rest of her life. You come from completely different worlds. She has a PhD in cardiology, speaks 3 languages, has traveled the world. You're a mechanic who barely finished high school? Gloria's words hit Mark like slaps to the face. Each sentence confirmed insecurities he had been trying to suppress since he fell in love with Lily. Did you come here just to remind me that I'm not good enough for your daughter? I came here to ask you to be man enough to leave her alone. Lily deserves someone of her caliber, someone who can offer the same level of life, education, and culture that she has. Gloria stepped closer, lowering her voice. Your daughter is already healed. You've both received what you needed. Now let Lily rebuild her life properly. And what if Lily is happy with me? Doesn't that matter? Lily thinks she's happy now because she's living a fantasy, feeling like a saving heroine. But what about 5 years from now, when the novelty wears off, when she realizes she gave up a comfortable life to live in this? Gloria gestured around. This environment? Mark fell silent for a few seconds, looking at the garage through the eyes of that woman. The oil-stained cement floor, the old tools, the penetrating smell of fuel and metal. Then he looked at the simple house in the back, where Lily was happily playing with the rabbits. Mrs. Johnson, I'll be honest with you, I've thought about this too. I know I can't offer Lily what she's used to having. But you know what I've discovered? Lily doesn't want what she was used to. She wants something real. Do you really believe that? Or is it what you would like to believe? The question echoed in Mark's mind long after Gloria left. That night, when Lily arrived for their usual dinner, he was quieter than usual. Did something happen? Lily asked, noticing the change in his behavior. Your mother came to visit me today, Mark said directly. Lily stopped stirring the pasta she was preparing. My mother? How did she know where you work? I don't know, but Lily made it clear what she thought about us. Lily sighed heavily, turning off the stove and facing Mark. What did she say? Mark repeated the conversation with Mrs. Johnson, word for word, watching Lily's expression shift from surprise to anger and finally to deep sadness. Mark, do you believe what she said? Lily asked when he finished. I don't know what to believe anymore, Lily. Maybe your mother is right. Maybe you're living in a fantasy and I'm being selfish by letting this continue. Emma, who was in her room doing homework, appeared at the kitchen door. Why are you guys sad? Did something happen to my heart? No, Princess. Your heart is perfect, Mark quickly replied. It's adult stuff. Adult stuff that makes everyone sad isn't good, Emma observed with the simple wisdom of children. Dr. Lily, aren't you going to have dinner with us anymore? Lily knelt to be at Emma's level. Emma, can I ask you a question? Sure. If you could choose anywhere in the world to live, where would it be? Emma thought for a few seconds. right here, with Dad, with you, with my bunnies, and close to my friend's school. Why? What if I told you I could give you a big house with a pool in a fancy neighborhood? It would be cool to visit, but I like our little house. It smells like a real home," Emma replied, hugging Lily. "Dr. Lily, do you want to live with us forever?" Emma's direct question broke the tense atmosphere. Lily looked at Mark, then at the girl, and made a decision. "Emma, how about we take a little walk in the yard while your dad and I talk?" After Emma left, Lily turned to Mark with determination. "Mark, I'm going to tell you something. For the last 15 years, I lived exactly the life my mother wanted me to live. Big house, convenience marriage, only working with rich people, friends from the same social class. And you know what I felt? Empty. Like I was playing a role in a play I didn't choose to watch." "Lily, let me finish. In the last 2 months, having dinner at this table, playing with Emma, talking with you about your work, about your dreams, I felt more like myself than I have in my entire adult life. This isn't a fantasy, Mark. It's real life. My real life." Mark moved closer to her, but there was still hesitation in his eyes. "What if your mother is right? What if in a few years you regret it?" Lily took his hands in hers. "Mark, do you love me? More than I thought it was possible to love someone. Then stop trying to decide what's best for me. I'm a doctor. I'm 40 years old, and I know exactly what I want. I want you. I want Emma. I want this life we're building together." At that moment, Emma came running through the door, carrying a flower she had picked from the yard. "Dr. Lily, I picked this flower for you. It's to say thank you for fixing my heart and for making my dad smile again." Lily took the simple flower, a white daisy with slightly crumpled petals, and felt it was worth more than any expensive bouquet she had ever received in her previous life. "Emma, this is the most beautiful flower I've ever received," Lily said sincerely. "Now, are you guys going to stop being sad?" Emma asked, looking between the two adults. Mark and Lily exchanged glances and simultaneously began to laugh. The simplicity of Emma's question had broken all the tension created by Mrs. Johnson's venomous words. "Yes, Princess, we won't be sad anymore," Mark replied, pulling Lily and Emma into a group hug. That night, after Emma went to bed, Mark and Lily talked late into the night about the future. They decided they would face the resistance from Lily's family together, that they would build a life based on true love and genuine values, and that they would not allow outside opinions to define what was right for them. "Mark," Lily said before leaving, "tomorrow I want to take you somewhere." "Where?" "I want you to see St. Raphael Clinic. I want you to understand why accepting that job was worth it." Mark nodded, curious. "Okay, but Lily?" "Yes. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for letting me choose." The next morning, for the first time in 2 years, Mark woke up without the weight of constant worry about Emma. His daughter was healed, and he had found in Lily not only the doctor who saved his child's life, but the woman who brought completeness to his own life. Love had overcome social differences, and they were ready to face any obstacle the future might bring together. St. Raphael Clinic occupied a modern 15-story building on the Upper East Side with a mirrored glass facade reflecting the morning sun like a giant crystal. Mark parked his Honda Civic next to BMWs and Mercedes, feeling visibly out of place in the environment. Lily was waiting for him in the main lobby, wearing a white coat over a navy blue dress, clearly adapted to that world of discreet luxury. "Mark, I'm glad you came," she said, kissing him on the cheek. "I want you to understand exactly why accepting this job was important." The interior of the clinic impressed with its sophistication. Carrara marble floor, contemporary art on the walls, and a service that felt more like a 5-star hotel. Well-dressed patients waited in leather armchairs, flipping through international magazines while enjoying gourmet coffee served in porcelain cups. "Lily, this must cost a fortune," Mark murmured, watching a woman enter carrying a handbag he estimated was worth more than his annual salary. "That's why I need you to see something," Lily replied, guiding him toward the elevators. They went up to the 10th floor, where Emma had set up a special project. As they exited the elevator, Mark came across a sign that read, "Heart Solidarity Project, free consultations on Fridays." "Emma, what is this?" "My condition for accepting the job. Every Friday I use my office to provide free consultations for underprivileged children. The clinic covers basic exams and I refer more complex cases to partnerships I've managed to establish," Emma explained, opening the door to an office that maintained the elegance of the clinic but had been decorated with colorful children's drawings on the walls. "And they accepted this?" Dr. Mark had no choice. "It was this or I wouldn't sign the contract," Emma smiled. "Mark, I want you to meet some people." In the waiting room of the project, 3 families were waiting for their appointments. A mother was holding a baby of a few months who was crying incessantly. A father accompanied a 5-year-old boy who was playing carefree with toy cars on the floor, and an elderly grandmother was comforting a girl of about 10 who looked nervous. "Good morning, everyone," Emma greeted warmly. "This is Mark, a very special friend who wanted to meet you." "Dr. Emma!" The 5-year-old boy ran to hug her. "I brought the drawing you asked for." Mark watched Emma kneel to talk to the child, examining the drawing with the same attention she would dedicate to a sophisticated medical exam. There was something in the natural way she interacted with those families that completely contrasted with the luxurious environment of the clinic. "Mrs. Smith," Emma addressed the mother with the baby, "how is Tommy sleeping?" "Better, doctor. After you adjusted the medication, he can sleep through the night," the woman replied with tears in her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you." "Taking good care of him is the best way to thank me," Emma replied, picking up the baby and doing a quick assessment. "Mark, would you like to meet Tommy? He was born with an arrhythmia that was causing constant insomnia." Mark approached, watching Emma examine the baby with precise and gentle movements. "Is he better now?" "Much better. With the right treatment, he will have a completely normal life," Emma explained, returning the baby to the mother. "Just like Lily." During the next 2 hours, Mark watched Emma attend to each child with total dedication. She not only examined the little patients, but also talked to the families about practical concerns: how to obtain free medications, which schools to look for children with special needs, how to explain medical procedures to siblings. "Dr. Emma," the grandmother of the 10-year-old girl asked, "are you sure you don't need to charge anything? I can pay a little." "Mrs. Johnson, your care for Lily is already payment enough. Please keep bringing her here every Friday, okay?" When the last patient left, Mark and Emma were alone in the office. He was clearly moved by what he had witnessed. "Emma, why did you feel it was important to show me this?" "Because I wanted you to understand that accepting this job was not a sacrifice. It was a strategy. With the salary here, I can pay off the debt from Lily's surgery, help other families, and still have a comfortable life with us," Emma explained, organizing the files. "Mark, this project has already served 40 children in 2 months, 40 families who were in the same situation as yours." Mark sat in one of the chairs processing the information. "Emma, you turned a job you didn't want into something meaningful. I learned that from you. When you helped me on the road, it wasn't because you expected something in return. It was because it was the right thing to do. I'm just applying the same principle in medicine." At that moment, Emma's phone rang. It was Dr. Mark Johnson. "Emma, you need to come down to my office now. It's urgent." In the elevator, Emma felt a growing tension. Urgency, in Dr. Mark's vocabulary, usually meant trouble. The clinical director's office occupied the entire 15th floor, with a panoramic view of the city. Dr. Mark was behind his mahogany desk, but he was not alone. Sitting in one of the leather armchairs was Mrs. Johnson, wearing a beige linen suit and a barely concealed expression of satisfaction. "Emma, please have a seat," Dr. Mark said, visibly uncomfortable. "Your mother came to see me this morning with some concerns." Emma felt the blood run cold in her veins. "What kind of concerns?" "About your emotional stability and professional judgment," Mrs. Johnson replied directly. "I told Dr. Mark about your recent questionable decisions." "Mom, you had no right." "I did, Emma. As your mother and a retired doctor with 40 years of experience, I have the right to be concerned when I see my daughter making mistakes that could harm her professional reputation." Dr. Mark shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Emma, your mother told me about your involvement with a family of patients, personal expenses for surgeries, drastic changes in behavior." "Dr. Mark," Emma interrupted, her voice firm despite the anger she felt, "my personal life does not interfere with my work. My results here are excellent. My patients are satisfied, and the social project has been a success." "No one is questioning your medical competence, dear," Mrs. Johnson said condescendingly. "But when a renowned doctor becomes romantically involved with a mechanic—" "My mother is lying." Emma stood up abruptly. "Mark is not illiterate, and even if he were, that wouldn't give anyone the right to judge him." "Emma, I need to think about what is best for the clinic," Dr. Mark intervened. "If there is any scandal—" "What scandal?" Emma exploded. "Loving someone is a scandal. Helping a sick child is a scandal. Dr. Mark, if my personal life is a problem for the clinic, I can resign right now." "Don't be dramatic, Emma," Mrs. Johnson sighed. "No one wants you to lose your job. We just want you to regain your common sense." Mark, who had remained silent near the door, finally spoke up. "Can I say something?" Everyone turned to him, clearly surprised that he was still there. "Mrs. Johnson, Dr. Mark, I will make everyone's life easier," Mark said, his voice calm but determined. "Emma, thank you. Thank you for everything you did for me and for Emma, but your mother is right. We come from different worlds, and I don't want you to lose your career because of me." "Mark, no," Emma started, but he raised his hand to interrupt her. "Emma is cured, and that's what matters. You can go on with your life in peace, knowing you did a good deed." Emma looked at Mark, then at her mother, then at Dr. Mark Johnson. For a moment it seemed she was going to accept the situation, but then something changed in her expression. "No," she simply said. "What do you mean, no?" Mrs. Johnson asked. "I won't let you decide my life for me. Mark, you talked about different worlds? Then let me show you what my real world is." Emma took off her lab coat and placed it on Dr. Mark's desk. "Dr. Mark, I accept your suggestion of resignation. Consider this my official request." "Emma, you're making a mistake." Dr. Mark stood up concerned. "No, Dr. Mark. I'm correcting a mistake I made 2 months ago when I thought I could live a double life. My real world is that garage in downtown. It's Emma playing in the backyard. It's Mark teaching me that true love exists. This is just a job." Emma turned to her mother. "Mum, for 40 years you taught me that social status matters more than happiness. Today, I choose happiness." "Emma, think about what you're doing. How will you pay for the surgery debt without this salary?" "We'll figure it out together," Emma replied, taking Mark's hand. "Together." As they left the clinic, Mark still seemed in shock. "Emma, you didn't have to do this." "I did. I needed to choose once and for all between the life my family wants me to have and the life I want to have." "What if it doesn't work?" Out. What if your mother is right? Emma stopped on the sidewalk, turned to Mark, and kissed him right there, in front of the clinic, in front of the luxury cars, in front of anyone who wanted to see. Mark, some risks are worth taking. You are worth it. That afternoon, they returned home together, Emma, for the first time, officially considering the small house behind the garage as her home. Emma greeted them running, as always, but this time Emma picked her up and spun her around the backyard, laughing like a child. "Dr. Emma, why are you so happy today?" Emma asked. "Because today I decided to stay with you forever. If you want me to, of course." "Of course we do," Emma shouted, hugging Emma tightly. "Now we are a real family." Mark watched the scene, his daughter in the arms of the woman he loved, in the simple backyard where they had found genuine happiness, and knew it had been worth facing all the obstacles to get there. That night, the three of them had dinner at the small kitchen table, planning for the future. Emma had burned bridges with her old life, but she discovered that sometimes it's necessary to burn bridges to find the right path. Love had won once again, but now they knew that the victory came at the cost of real sacrifices and definitive choices, and they were ready for any consequence, as long as they could face it together. 6 months after the dramatic departure from St. Raphael Clinic, Emma woke to the familiar sound of Emma humming in the backyard. It was a September morning, and the aroma of the coffee Mark was brewing in the kitchen, mixed with the scent of the spring flowers they had planted together. The small house behind the garage had completely transformed, small feminine touches scattered throughout the rooms, photos of the new family on the walls, and above all, the feeling of a home built with genuine love. "Good morning, Dr. Emma," Emma shouted from the window, wearing a new yellow dress with a sunflower print. "Dad made cinnamon rolls for breakfast." Emma smiled, stretching in bed. In the first months after leaving the clinic, there were moments of real financial tension. Without the high salary, she had to completely readjust, learn to save, and plan every expense. But she discovered that simplicity brought a peace she had never experienced in her previous life of luxury. "I'm coming down, Emma," she replied, putting on the simple nightgown Mark had gifted her the previous month. Light blue with small embroidered flowers, bought at a local shop. In the kitchen, Mark was already dressed for work, a blue workshop t-shirt and jeans, but there was something different about his posture. In recent months, he had gained a confidence he hadn't possessed before, a direct result of the unconditional love Emma showed him and the simple life she had chosen to share. "Did you sleep well?" he asked, kissing her on the cheek while pouring coffee. "Better than ever," Emma replied sincerely. "Mark, did you hear back about the job?" 3 weeks earlier, Emma had applied for a position at the health clinic in Maplewood, a job that would pay less than half of what she earned at the private clinic, but would allow her to continue serving underprivileged families and, most importantly, maintain the simple lifestyle she had learned to love. "Yes, I did," Mark smiled, pulling a letter from his pocket. "You got it. You start on Monday." Emma screamed with joy, hugging Mark and then Emma, who had entered the kitchen at the exact moment. "Do you know what this means?" "That Dr. Emma will take care of more children," Emma replied, clapping her hands. "And that I'll finally have my own income back," Emma added. "Mark, now I can officially help with the household expenses." "Emma, we've already discussed this. You don't have to." "I do. We are a family, and families share responsibilities," Emma interrupted, but kindly. "Besides, I have a proposal to make." Mark raised an eyebrow, curious. "What kind of proposal?" Emma took a deep breath. It was something she'd been thinking about for weeks, but she finally felt ready to verbalize. "I want us to get married." The silence that followed Emma jumped for joy. "Is there going to be a wedding? Can I wear a princess dress?" Mark stood still, processing the request. "Emma, are you sure? After everything your family said, after—" especially after everything my family said," Emma interrupted. "Mark, I want to formalize what we already are, a family. I want Emma to have legal rights over me too. I want anyone who questions our relationship to know that we chose this consciously and forever." Mark stepped closer, taking Emma's hands. "Emma Johnson, will you marry a mechanic who will love you more each day until the last day of your life? Mark Johnson, will you marry a former wealthy doctor who discovered that true wealth lies in the people we love?" "I do," they said simultaneously, laughing at the improvised formality. Emma clapped enthusiastically. "Now I will have a real mum. And can I call you Mum?" Emma knelt to be at Emma's height, her eyes brimming with emotion. "Emma, nothing in the world would make me happier than being your mom, officially." 2 weeks later, on a Saturday afternoon, they held a simple ceremony at the courthouse in downtown. Emma wore a simple white dress she had bought at a downtown store. Mark wore the navy suit he had used at Emma's first appointment, and the girl was radiant in a pink dress that Mrs. Smith, the school principal, had lent. The only witnesses were John Smith and his wife, Mrs. Johnson, Ronaldo from the garage with his family, and surprisingly, Dr. Robert Smith, who had become a genuine friend of the couple following Emma's recovery. "I never thought I would witness a wedding that moved me more than my own surgeries," Robert commented during the small party they held in the garage yard, where neighbors spontaneously joined with dishes of food and music. "Why does this move you so much, Robert?" Emma asked, watching Emma dance with Mark in the middle of the yard, both laughing carefree. "Because in 20 years of medicine, I rarely see stories where love truly wins. You proved that sometimes the best decisions are the ones that seem crazy to the rest of the world." That night, when the party ended and Emma went to sleep, Mark and Emma sat on the porch of the house, watching the stars in the clear spring sky. "Emma, can I confess something to you?" "Of course." "In the first few months I was afraid you would regret it. That one day you would wake up and realize you had given up too much for us." Emma nestled against Mark's shoulder. "You know what I gave up, Mark? I gave up a life where I pretended to be happy. I gave up superficial relationships. I gave up a career that gave me money but not purpose." "And you don't miss anything?" "I miss only one thing," Emma confessed, and Mark tensed, worried. "I miss being able to go back in time and meet you sooner. We lost so much time when we could have been happy together." Mark laughed, relaxed. "Emma, do you believe everything happened at the right time? If we had met earlier, maybe I wouldn't have been mature enough to appreciate you. Maybe you weren't ready to value a simple life." "You're right. Emma needed to get sick for me to discover my true medical vocation. You needed to face the possibility of losing your daughter, to discover that you could trust someone again. I needed to lose everything I thought was important to find out what really matters." A year later, on a warm March morning, exactly 2 years after the meeting on the road, Emma was in her new office at the health clinic when she received an unexpected call. "Emma, it's Robert. I have a proposal for you." "What kind of proposal?" "I'm starting a non-profit organization for free pediatric heart surgeries. I need a cardiologist who understands both medicine and social reality. Interested?" Emma looked out the clinic window, where she could see Emma playing in the schoolyard across the street, completely healthy and radiant. Mark had given her permission to have lunch at school to be closer to her mother's work. "Robert, can I bring Mark as a consultant? He has incredible ideas on how to adapt medical equipment for different economic realities." "Mark, the mechanic? Emma, does he understand medicine?" "He understands the human heart, Robert, which is the most important part." 3 months later, the non-profit organization Little Hearts was officially inaugurated, with Emma as medical director and Mark as technical consultant. The revolutionary project combined cutting-edge medical expertise with practical solutions, developed by those who understood the financial limitations of low-income families. On the day of the inauguration, Emma was on the makeshift stage in the yard of the first school where they would conduct screenings when she saw a familiar figure in the audience. Her mother, Mrs. Johnson, dressed more simply than usual, watching the presentation intently. After the ceremony, Mrs. Johnson approached hesitantly. "Emma, can I talk to you?" They stepped away from the crowd, walking to a more private area. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "I came to see what you were building," Mrs. Johnson said, her voice softer than Emma had heard in years. "Emma, I was wrong." "About what?" "About everything. About Mark. About your choices. About what it means to be happy." Mrs. Johnson took a deep breath. "I've spent the last few months watching you from afar. You are genuinely happy. Mark loves you in a way that your ex-husband never did. Emma has flourished in a way that only happens when a child feels truly loved." Emma was silent, surprised by her mother's unexpected humility. "Mom, why did you change your mind?" "Because I discovered that I spent my whole life chasing the wrong things. Money, status, social approval. When I see you three together, I see something I never had. Real contentment." Emma looked to where Mark was playing with Emma and others. Emma patiently taught the children about how medical equipment worked, with infinite patience and a genuine smile. "Mom, do you want to officially meet your granddaughter? For real this time?" "Can I?" "Emma," Emma called. "Come meet your grandma, Mrs. Johnson." Emma ran towards them, stopping shyly in front of Mrs. Johnson. "Are you my mom's mother?" "Yes, dear. And I would love to be your grandma if you want. All the kids at school have grandmas. I've always wanted one too," Emma said, hugging Mrs. Johnson spontaneously. 6 months later, on Christmas Eve, the family gathered in the small house that had now expanded with an extra room and a larger living area. Mrs. Johnson had become a constant presence, helping with Emma and discovering the joy of being a real grandma, not just by name. "Emma," Mark said while they prepared a simple dinner, "do you remember when you asked me if I believed everything happened at the right time?" "I remember. Today I'm absolutely sure it does. If it weren't for everything we went through, your separation, Emma's illness, the obstacles we faced, we would have never built something so solid." Emma looked around. Emma teaching Mrs. Johnson how to make origami at the table, the smell of homemade food filling the house, the simple yet thoughtfully chosen gifts under the small tree that Mark had set up. "Mark, can I tell you a secret?" "Always." "When I was a child, I dreamed of a family just like this. Not rich, not famous, but full of real love. It took me 40 years to realize that some dreams are worth waiting for, and others are worth fighting for." Emma appeared in the kitchen, hugging both of them. "Mom, Dad, Grandma Johnson asked if she could spend New Year with us too." Emma and Mark exchanged glances, smiling. "Of course she can, Emma. Family is family." Outside, the summer rain began to fall, but inside the small house behind the garage, 3 people, who had become family by choice, not by blood, celebrated the discovery that true wealth is not measured in money, but in the quality of love we share with each other. Mark's red motorcycle was parked in the yard, covered by a tarp that protected it from the rain. 2.5 years earlier, that same motorcycle had stopped on a road to help a stranger. Today, it was a symbol of how a simple act of kindness can transform lives forever. Inside, Mark served dinner while Emma lit the candles that decorated the table. Emma was telling her grandma about her plans to become a veterinarian and a doctor at the same time, to take care of animals and people. Mrs. Johnson listened attentively, finally understanding that true education does not come from expensive schools, but from the example of genuinely good people. "Shall we make a toast?" Emma suggested, raising her glass of grape juice. "To what?" Mark asked. "To the kindness that transforms, to second chances, and to the love that teaches us that the most important things in life cost nothing, but are worth everything." "Cheers," they said in unison, and the sound of genuine laughter echoed through the small house where four people had discovered that happiness is a daily choice, and that the best love stories are those that begin with a selfless act of helping others. Outside, the rain continued to fall over the city of New York, washing the streets and preparing the ground for new stories. But inside Joe's garage, where a family had found their forever, love had overcome all adversities and built something that would last a lifetime.